I did not tell him to hit a home run. I was just saying things.
You know how people, well, say they're gonna quit on like April Fool's Day on YouTube? Well, it's not funny. I don't know what they get out of that. Remember in Pizza Tower when the Doise died? Well, why though? Such an out of nowhere and unexpected event, and an otherwise pretty silly kind of update to it to Pizza Tower. One more noise was fighting him, and then bam, he just swoops in, and takes him away, never to be seen alive again. Well, when the noise update released this that it was one of the more notable parts of it, as it was. The noise was known to be planned, or well, it's hard for you to talk about. While the noise was planned to be the game it was already known. It was unexpected. It would have such a dark, not dark's not the right word, but such a horror aspect to it that was pretty out of left field, even when considering certain other things like, say, war or fake Pepino. Well, what most people don't know, though, is that, well, there's a little more to it than that. Or at least in a community sense. It's pretty strange, and I understand that even the most hardcore Pizza Hut fans don't know about this. Well, it's I think it's best if they didn't know, because it was quite an event to have witnessed through. You may be wondering what I'm getting at. Well, put simply, this a group that supported the Doise, but in a much more cult-like way. It was pretty strange. This what I'm referring to is that what I'm referring to as the Doise group, the Doise fan group, for the purpose of my recounting of these events. The Doise fan group was a group of people from a Discord server I was formerly in. At the time that this started, from what I can recall, the April build, the 2021, had been released, and Doise wasn't as known as he is now. However, some of the people that did know him at the time, well, they took the character way too seriously, in a very, like, an unironically serious way. So much so that, well, they formed a whole thing around the character, like what? I don't get it. I'm still genuinely baffled that this even happened to this day. At first, well, it all started on a Discord server and to be clear, it was not the official Pizza Discord server or any other one. It was a specific one that was at first non-related to Pizza Tower. At first, it was small things. Categories have Pizza Tower stuff, and I thought that was neat. That's neat. But then the Doise made his presence on the server known. What I mean by that is that two users, whose names were Pedito and the Doise, joined the server, and an announcement was made to point it out. I thought it was a joke, but oh boy, they took it way, and I mean way too far. Some of the admin and mods started to treat the Doise as if he was some sort of higher being that they were not worthy of, or something like that. It was really weird, and I still don't understand where this came from. If it was for real, if it was just some weird inside joke or something, I don't really know. Needless to say, I was very weirded out by it, but I thought that again, this was just some inside joke that I just wasn't a part of, and I just wasn't getting. Well, boy oh boy, I was very wrong. The server went for a very strange transitional period where a server dedicated to Doise was being made. I joined the server very early on in its development under my normal regular account, because why would I use any other account for this? It's not like anything bad is going to happen, right? Right? Well, you'll see. Just thinking about it. Ugh. Well, I had unknowingly signed up for a new era of my life. One that would be filled with confusion, strange events, and alike. And ended with one of the worst nightmares I've ever had. Due to my early arrival in the server's life, I would be given the role of admin. However, despite this, I avoided the server most of the time. But the simple fact that it was just too strange for me to moderate without being pelted with praises for the Doise. That isn't to say that. Now, I don't hate the Doise as a character. I want to make that very clear. But it was to an obsessive level that I just couldn't handle without feeling like this was some weird thing that I just maybe should have been a part of. I don't really know how else to put it. I'm generally struggling to find the right words to describe some of this stuff. Well, things would escalate a little more, but not in the way you might have thought they would. One day, I DM'd the Discord account that was named Pedito as the same, and yes, this was the same one as before. And looking for help in the situation because, DM'd them to look for help in the situation because I thought, well, why not, right? He responded surprisingly quickly, expressing his relief that someone was finally making sense. I was like, what are you talking about? Sorry, just the absurdity of it all. Then Pedito proceeded to explain his side of the story, which was basically a big old rant about how jealous he was at the Doise and pointing at his popularity comparison to his. Well, he wasn't wrong, but if I was supposed to be friends or something, I don't know. He then said this wasn't supposed to happen. The Doise, while remaining, possessed great power that could be used for evil if it fell in the wrong hands. What? I talked to the server owner after that. And then they cried about how Snick was going to kill him or something. I was just like, what? What type of joke is this? I don't get it. This isn't funny, this is just weird. After that, I gave up. and achieved, and I archived just about everything I cared about from there because I just did not want to look at it anymore, and I moved it far down my server list and turned off all notifications. I did not want anything to do with that server anymore, but did not want to leave it for some reason. I have trouble. I have a little problem with that, but it's not that big of a deal. But whatever. I was just done with that server, and well, for the next 3 years following that, life was as normal as it could be. But the memories was still there, and it made me feel. It gave off a strange feeling every time. I would just. The feeling was. Well, I would describe it to be confusion and just being feeling weirded out by the whole thing. Well, fast forward to early March. Back in. When was it? 3 years after the previous events. Well, I talked to a friend that just so happened to be in the server too, and was much more active than I ever was. Really, they filled me in of what I've missed. They explained that in my inactivity, the server pretty much tripled down on their praise of the Doise, and Doise got roped into it as well. Doesn't that sound familiar? Yeah. If you don't know who Doise is, well, she was made after the Doise got really popular. And well, to make things disturbing, there will be some events done by some of the members of the server that were apparently had the sacrifices or something. I don't know. This was very, very disturbing. And I got shared articles as evidence, which I will not be sharing here because they apparently have disappeared from the face of the earth. Somehow. And I was shocked. Like, what is happening? What's going on here? What? This is getting concerning. And it was 2 days after that, finding out about that. Ugh. Oh. Again, it's hard to talk about this because it's just escalation, It's just how disturbing it is getting. Ugh. The Say Pedito account from, I DM'd 3 years ago, DM'd me again. He was yelling at me to do something about all these things. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he explained that some of the Doise fan group members thought that he knew too much. I think he should just be taken out because I don't know, knew too much of what. I just told him to run away, look back, because. And then he just wished me luck with my life, and then he went offline. Like sometime after that, for some reason it's like I would trick myself into believing that this was true, which I guess it technically was, or maybe it wasn't, and it was just some weird dream I had or something. It was too real. Or maybe it wasn't real and this is all made up. I don't know. What do I know, right? Well, I felt I felt like I'd done a good thing, so it did make me feel a little better, but that was overshadowed by the feeling that I was in grave danger. And then it just it then I reality hit came back and woke me up. What I mean by that is that I realized how dumb this whole thing was and how outlandish it all sounded. Like, who would... Like, I know people have done crazy things before, but this seemed too much. I asked the same friend from before about the question. I sort of confronted him about it, technically. You know, asking him, like, just trying to accuse him of just faking something, some really morbid thing, but then they swore up and down that it was true, and we were next. Yeah, right. Sure thing, buddy. I didn't believe it. A few weeks went by and nothing happened, but then the noise update released. I played it literally the day that it came out, and well, something strange happened. As Petito was taking the Doise away at the end of the Doise fight, felt strange. Like, it was as if I was forgetting something important, and then it just all came flooding back at me. I remembered it all. How it started, the escalation, the articles, and then the madness of it all. I realized that was at that moment after the memories came back. I realized that I was so stressed out by my supposed doom that my mind just kind of, I guess, suppressed the memories of it all. And well, I thought it was so dumb. Like, remembering it all, it's like, oh yeah, there's no way this was real. Right? I mean, you may think, oh, what about the others? People could have faked it, right? I mean, people go to crazy lengths to just play a joke or to try to... I mean, look at, like, I don't know, like ARGs and stuff like that. Like the, what was it? The Majora's, the Ben drowned, ARG stuff. Like, again, people go to crazy lengths to just, for a joke, even if it's not one they should make. Well, 2 weeks later, I was still thinking about it, and my mind had somehow convinced itself, and by association me, that it was real, and I was kind of freaked. I was very worried about it, forgetting of just how ridiculous it all sounded. Not to mention the believability being very low. Then, that same week, or I guess that one night, I had a nightmare. It was so terrible. I was in it was details. Usually with nightmares, you may not remember much, if any of it. But I remembered almost all of it. I remembered more than I wish I did. For I remember, it was in a black void, like, room or space. I saw that Benito was crying. I walked to him, asked him what was wrong, and he just cried about how he killed his best friend, and that Doise had blamed him for it. Wait, since when Doise was Keenan in Pizza Tower? What? She wasn't in the noise update. What was my brain doing? And then I was worried after hearing how upset he was. But then I looked at a nearby mirror, and then I was different. I looked different, like I was a skeleton with a low top hat and a monocle. Even though it didn't see on my face for some reason, that was weird. But the skeleton was the least of my worries. And then I looked back at Pedito, figuring maybe he would tell me something about what was going on. He just looked at me with those void hole eyes, like he has in the game. And then he said, he may be dead, but we aren't. And now, ever heard the boredom of killing his best friend? Yeah. Sad stuff. But you then disappeared, and he said farewell. Jimis? No, it's Jim. It was like Jim Davis. I thought, I'm sorry, what? How do you know my, you didn't know my, how do you know my name? Right? Apparently, I have become semi-self-aware and knew that this wasn't normal. You know how in lucid dreams you might become self-aware of the fact that it's a dream? Well, my brain had apparently met the halfway point, or met a compromise to where I was aware that something was wrong, but still wasn't aware that it was a dream. Yeah, don't even ask. I don't get it either. And then before I could even finish the thought I was having about how strange this all was, the Doise showed up. His corpse showed up, and it was standing right up. No. Flies buzzing around him. Blood from his chest. Just all of his chest, like he had ketchup. It was just on there and it was like ketchup, but I knew it wasn't ketchup. I knew it was blood. Because now I noticed that he was crying. Like he was some sort of reanimated corpse, but for some reason he wasn't crying tears. Well, not normal tears. They were cheese slime. It's like he was crying cheese slime filled tears. I know. Who cares? But whatever. His mouth just opened and just hung out. His just gaping mouth just hung there as he began to squeal. He shrieked and squealed like he never did in the game. It was ear piercing and ear piercing squeals and screeches. It was all I heard. It was so loud that I fell to the ground. Cornelius was like begging to stop, and then he never did. It lasted for what felt like a very long time, like almost a lifetime. And then that's all I remember before I finally woke up. I woke up and I was sweaty from just how scary it was to me. Maybe I wasn't scared, just more so freaked out by the whole thing. Get up and calm down. I got my phone to type it all down before I forgot, which was something that which I had gone into the routine of doing by that point, and I still do it today. while I was typing it down, I realized how dumb and stupid it all was. I went back to sleep after getting some water, and nothing happened for the rest of the night. Of course, as these types of incidents go, no one believed me when I told them about it. I really just can't blame them, because I almost don't believe that happened at all. I thought I knew better, but I didn't. I really didn't. Last year, yeah, on April Fool's Day of 2024, some guy showed up at my house that was dressed as Pedito. You know how he's dressed. He was just like that. And he was happy to see me, even though I have no idea who this guy was. He explained that the curse had been lifted, whatever that was supposed to mean. He was grateful for my help. This was very strange to me. Nothing was making sense anymore. I mean, who was this man, and what was he doing in my house? What kind of a joke was this? Was this a friend? Was it? No, it wasn't, because it didn't look like anyone I knew. It didn't look or sound like anyone I knew. It sounded like some guy trying to sound like Peppino. You know, like the voice clips from the game. This was ridiculous. He then came in uninvited, and it and we just hanged out, but he overstayed his welcome for way too long. He then gave me a rat turd and told me it was from Brick the Rat. Ew, it was gross. Very funny, faker. Ugh, so gross. Ugh, just thinking about it. The smell was horrendous. I had enough. I told him to leave if I would call the police, and he just strolled on out without another word other than see you next time, friend. Ugh. I took the rat poop and threw it out down the toilet. No, the neighbors would not be subjected to that because they didn't deserve it. They're just innocent. Flushed down the rat thing. I don't want to say it again. And I washed my hands and took a nap. I was just too tired from it. Literally. I haven't seen whoever that strange man was since then. And I can't. I don't want anything to do with this anymore. I moved shortly after, and I haven't been back to the house since. I only moved because I didn't want anything to do. I didn't want any possible links to this, and nothing has happened since. That's how my life got ruined by a Discord group that really took a joke way too far and possibly did horrendous things that no one should ever do on any circumstance. Don't treat a joke kid like they're a god or whatever they did. The moral of my tale here is that sometimes you really should just walk away, or it could ruin your life, or make you lose a few months, years or so that you can never ever get back. The worst part of the whole thing was that I really have no explanation about why they did this. if ever or not it was a joke, or if they were dead serious about it. And I to this day I still don't know. It's been over a year since it's been over a year. It's been about a year since that Pedito visit, and a few more years since all of it started, and since the beginning. And quite frankly, I'm done. Hey everyone, it is me, Absurd Star. It is I. Yeah. This is the post story, talking about context. As was made obvious from the beginning, this was a joke. April Fools, haha. This was a silly little story I wrote in the span of a day or two, or about a year ago at this point. Maybe a little less than that. But I wrote it very early in April, not on April 1st of last year. And I wrote it as a joke, and the writing was a lot more it was very self-aware of how dumb this whole story was. I do apologize if I was a little over dramatic at points. I really wanted to sell that I was telling a story, even on the beginning. I will make it clear. The beginning should have made it clear that this was not real and this was just a joke. But this part here is to explain that it wasn't. I did write a sequel of sorts to the story, even though it has very little to do with the actual original story. But I don't think I'll be reading that anytime soon, if ever. Maybe I will, but I don't know. I figured I'd contribute to April Fool's Day for once instead of doing nothing. This whole reading thing was just something that just kind of came in a spur of the moment earlier today. It's almost 1 p.m. by the way. I hope that the video's okay. And shout out to those who read creepypastas that are not done with an AI voice, because I think, the effort you put into reading these, it's cool. I like it. This was definitely inspired by certain creepypasta readers that I've heard in the past for years. The editing of this video may seem familiar to you. And I did try to make it as if someone was actually telling the story. But whether or not it really got that across, it sounded realistic in the expressions and the emotion that was coming out, or if I was just being too overdramatic and sounded fake, like I was phoning it in. I don't know. Of course, the original story was written a bit differently, and there were a few differences. I might post the actual original story with some revision, with some edits in the future. Also, the beginning part was inspired by a certain YouTuber that I did really enjoy, as the overall probably video-like aspect of it is. I do apologize if it just seemed really dumb and not exactly quality of writing. I've written better things. This was a complete joke. You shouldn't take this seriously. And this isn't real. None of it happened. This was only really based off the whole Doise dying thing at the end of his boss fight in Pizza Tower. But other than that, this was, and the Doise thing is an actual character, by the way, made by the creator of the Doise. I do want to make that clear. Yeah. And I know I kind of stumped. I did everything in one take, even though maybe it was technically 2 takes, but this first one was just so early on, it wasn't even worth continuing at that point. I messed up so bad. I hope you all enjoyed the story for what it was, for this silly joke story that you really shouldn't take that seriously. none of it is real. Don't go asking people anyone questions. Of course, I did kind of have a bit of a moral in there where even if it was somewhat unintentional, that being you really just shouldn't be around places or internet areas that you don't necessarily feel the most comfortable in or don't exactly have a positive feelings towards. If it's only negative, you probably should just leave or just not be involved in that anymore. That's kind of what happened, but sorry, but not really. Not to the 100%, unfortunately. So hope you enjoyed the video. I know these videos are long. I know I don't post that often. I'm either busy. I just don't. I have to be in the mood to like record, and recording is one thing. Like I can get in the mood recording pretty easily, but uploading I have to really sit down and do, and I don't like doing that. I know, but I know it's just tedious, and I just. Happy April Fool's Day, everyone. Be careful what pranks you do, and don't do anything unfun. Don't be the SpongeBob. Don't be the Squidward. You know, like that one episode with SpongeBob. I forget the name off at the top of my head, but you probably know what I'm talking. You might know what I'm talking about. No one should be no one likes a Squidward or whatever that line goes from the Krusty Krab training video episode. I'll see you. So yeah, maybe I'll do more story stuff in the future. I got characters. I got original characters I would like to share one day, but I never. See you on the next video, whenever that is, because, you know, upload schedule is non-existent, and I don't upload that often